welcome to Individualist. This is a show where we get together and make lists. Today is a very special episode. It's not an usual episode where people come and just make a list. Today I have some of my closest friends talking to me about one of our favorite things, which is the potato. And just as an introduction, I have stand-up comedian and history expert and food expert and quizzing expert and expert of everything, Kumar Varun with me. KV, thank you
Hi.
so much for joining in.
Hi, Shima. Like I told you in the first episode, anytime you want me on this series, because this series is my favorite, I don't know any other series which covers things from Enid Blyton to Amitabh Ghosh to Zoya Akhtar and to potatoes. So I'm very, very
Yes.
excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. KV, as you know, we're talking about potatoes today, and we are obviously talking about the kind of potato dishes that we like. But what I wanted to ask you is to give the audience some sort of an introduction to how potatoes came to India, because it's not native to India, and how it became a part, like so much a part of our diet.
Food history, just like human history, is full of such things where some things are not indigenous to a nation or
Yeah.
an area, come from outside, but we have adapted it so much that it has become a part of our culture so much that we can't believe that
Yeah.
there was a significant
The
period in
majority
time that
of
we
it's
weren't even aware. Majority of history. So sometimes we are so proud and fanatic about some food items, but we don't realize they were not there till like a few hundred years back.
yeah.
And potato is a great example. I remember when I first started reading about all this, like many years back, about some of these items like chilies or potatoes or
Yeah.
tomatoes, they were never there in our history, and it's so fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to start with that fascination. Okay, let me talk whatever little I know about potatoes. Potatoes are indigenous to the Andes Mountains, which is in South America.
South America, yeah.
Okay, so that's where potatoes started. Like if I have to give modern reference, it will be somewhere in Peru and some part of Bolivia.
Yeah.
That's where potatoes were cultivated long, long thousands of years back, and none of the other part of the world were aware of this. Okay, it's only when the Spanish Inquisition of South America happened
Yeah.
is when they got exposed to this plant, and they got it from there to Europe. And that part also, I know it's not nothing to do with India, but it's very, very exciting. When potatoes came to Europe, they have this beautiful history of how finally Europeans, adapted potatoes. There was so the Spanish got it from there, Spanish and Portuguese, whoever went
Yeah.
to South America, and then there was a lot of skepticism around potato. Okay, I remember reading about how some people in Britain and France and Germany, a lot of people looked down upon it because they were like, it has something to do, it's evil, and it's black magic, it creates syphilis and like sexual diseases.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reason why this was happening is because they were not used to eat anything that was the root of the plant.
So, yeah, that's my growth.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, so they were like, "Arey, matlab, how are we eating root? How is this
Yeah.
okay?" And
Yeah.
so there was a lot of like, potato faced a lot of resistance in Europe, and then famously, finally, some scientists convinced especially in France, because there were some scientists who convinced the French king, I think it was Louis the 16th, that it's actually good and whatever. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I don't want to get into, but there's one interesting thing that I want to say, which is about Mary Antoinette, who we all notorious
Yeah.
slash famous queen of France, who actually used like potato curls in her hair and all. And
Oh.
she made, yeah, so she used potato curls in her hair as like a fashion statement. And then everyone was like, wow, man, the Mary Antoinette is wearing it.
Yeah.
So this has to be something cool.
Cool, yeah.
And then so it became whatever mainstream there. In India, they got when Vasco da Gama came here in 1498.
Okay.
So 1492 is when Columbus sailed for India, and
Yeah.
1498 is when Vasco da Gama
Same
sailed.
here. Yeah.
Around that time when they came, potato was not really a big deal because it was basically just starch, right?
Yeah.
But it became a thing because French earlier realized that it's a good survival food to carry on ships. Like when your
Yeah.
military or when your explorers don't have anything else to eat, this is a good thing to just eat.
Eat.
And that's why they
Yeah.
carried potatoes. So it came to India in around, like I said, 15th century, but it never really became that popular then. Okay, it became popular in pockets. That's why some of the first areas in India when potatoes became popular were the Western Indian part, like Surat, or
Yeah.
somewhere near Karnataka and whatever, western coast.
Yeah.
So potatoes came, but they were still not mainstream to our culture, and so weird to imagine that we used to have a point when there was no masala dosa with potato, there
Yeah.
was no samosa with potato, and
Yeah.
that's so weird. So imagine before 15th 16th century, there was no potato in our
Yeah.
cuisine at all.
Yeah.
So masala dosa had like curry leaves and other spices. Samosa had minced meat and other spices, but
Yeah.
there was no potato.
Yeah.
Portuguese brought it here, and that's why the entire thing about potato being called batata in Bombay and also in Portuguese. So
Yeah.
all that
Okay.
still exists. Now the next big part in potatoes history comes with the British East India Company, and they made it mainstream in the north of the country, like North India and Bengal, etc.
Yeah.
That's when they realized that okay, this is a great plant, so to speak, and there are many stories of how they actually incentivized farmers to grow potato. In
Oh.
Yeah, so in south there was a governor in Madras, and there was also a governor in Bengal.
Yeah.
These are all British East India Company.
Yeah.
These are not Portuguese, okay?
Yeah.
And they incentivize farmers, saying, "Hey, if you grow potato, we'll give you this much money." And that's how potato slowly and slowly became popular. It is so unique, Shimoy, because then they thought that potato will become our staple food.
Yeah.
It will replace rice, but that never happened.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
rice never happened, but still potato became a part of our cuisine,
Yeah.
as we discussed. And the unique thing is that the Indian cuisine is probably the only cuisine in the world which has two major starch sources in our meals.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
we started eating potato with rice.
Nice. Yeah.
That doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Okay, you like if you look at the Mexicans, they just eat rice, for example,
Yeah.
or in East Asia,
Yeah.
or you have like potato based whatever, like
Yeah.
if you mashed potatoes or French fries or whatever.
Right.
India is the only country that
Yeah.
has rice, and
And
they would
potato.
put
Yeah.
potato in that,
Can't
and then we
imagine
eat that.
one without the other.
Yes, yes.
Hi guys, I'm Sumit.
My name is Poppy.
Hi, I'm Manas.
My name is Zasha O'Brien.
Hi, my name is Smritika and I love aloo.
Poppy, we're obviously talking about aloo, and I'm assuming that you love aloo as much as I do. So tell me about like your childhood in Calcutta, and like was aloo like a regular part of your diet? Because as Bengalis, we eat aloo a lot. So how is it at your house?
Yeah, I think aloo was there at almost every meal in some form or the other. Like if you were eating at our neighbor's house, they would make an aloo puri, not luchi, but aloo puri. If we were eating at our house, we would have methi aloo or shag aloo and
Yeah.
aloo bhate, aloo and everything. So I think pretty much every meal, whether it was the center of the meal or not, there was aloo. And whether it was Indian food or not, even if it was Western food, aloo was the the food that we ate on the menu.
Yeah. So what is the one aloo dish that you've chosen to talk about, and like why did you choose it?
So my favorite aloo dish, and I don't have to think twice about it, is aloo and jhinge posto. Not just aloo posto, but aloo and jhinge posto. And sometimes people forget that the jhinge is important, and when they make it for me, they only put aloo. But it's important to remember that it's both. Basically, aloo, which is cut into small pieces, and it's fried in shoshe tel, so mustard oil. So it has a specific flavor of mustard oil, and it has poppy seeds.
Yeah.
That's also one of the reasons I started eating it as a kid, because that's also my name. And it has jhinge. And what is jhinge?
Jhinge is like a kind of god.
Green god, yeah.
And like, did you like aloo jhinge posto growing up also? Or was it like when you sort of moved away from home that you realized how much you miss it?
No, I've always loved it. It was like, when people have birthdays, they want Domino's pizza. Mine was like, I want aloo bhate, dal, and aloo posto. Like, that is what I wanted. That was one of the things always made on my birthday. Like, we would have it for lunch, every couple of weeks, not that often. But I just loved it. And if I went to my Dida's house, she would always make that for me. So that was something that, everybody like knows, oh, Poppy asche, we'll make, aloo posto for her.
Yeah. And did they make it like with gravy in your house, or was it like a dry preparation?
It was dry.
Yeah.
It was dry, and I would usually have it like with bhat, so rice, and then some aloo posto on top, and then dal on top of that.
Yeah.
And I would actually have the first half of my meal without the dal to experience the flavor of the posto better, because the dal masks it.
Yeah.
And then the second half of it, I would add the dal, and then add lembu also, which is lime.
Yeah. Do you cook aloo posto in Boston, like where you stay now?
No, I have never cooked aloo posto myself. I don't have mustard oil in the house. I only have olive oil and ghee. So that's what I used to cook mostly. And and I also think it's like one of those things that I go home to eat. That's like, like I go home, it's the first thing I want to eat. So, it's like cookie jar cake and aloo posto. So it's nice to set, to have that one thing. If I learn how to make everything, then I may not be that excited about the food back home.
Yeah, fair. When I asked you to choose your favorite aloo dish, like you said, that was very easy for you. But were there any other aloo dishes that you sort of thought about and that could have maybe made the list?
Yeah. So there is, there is puchka.
Oh yeah.
There's puchka, and I actually had it yesterday, and we had this puchka wala outside our house next to Max Minapon.
Yeah.
I try to replicate his flavor of
Yeah.
aloo when I make it. It's quite good. Green chilies and
Yeah.
some of the pani also you add to the aloo to make it a little
Makes
bit
it, yeah.
more
Yeah.
flavorful. And
I remember going to eat at that puchka guy's place, like from your house, like when we were kids, and we
that's the thing. Yeah, you always, because it was close enough that we were allowed to walk there, and then always have puchkas. So.
Tell me something. How important a part of your diet was potatoes when you were growing up?
Oh, hugely important. I mean, it's just one of those things that's super easy to cook. It's very hard to mess up with potatoes. I mean, even just like shed aloo, like boiled potatoes, are just something that you can consume.
Yeah.
So it featured a lot.
So, what is the one potato dish that you sort of keep going back to, or that is your favorite?
It's just a memory of home, and going to the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir on like Poddapukur like road, Lansdowne Road, in Kolkata, and sort of just like they have like this little canteen there, and it was great food. Like Gujarati home, like sort of cuisine. And it's literally just called batata nu shaak, which is like potatoes. Yeah, it's aloo ki sabzi. And it comes across as something that's quite innocuous, and you would think, oh, okay, it's just a potato, curry. Like it's just something everyone would make anyway, But I think there's something quite interesting about it because it's without onions. It's without garlic. But it has like this ridiculous amount of savory sort of flavor, which I very recently discovered was a consequence of like this strange spice blend that I should have learned about years ago, but I didn't. But it's this incredibly comforting, warming dish that has ginger and chilies and tomatoes, and is just incredibly heartwarming. And all you need with it is like either some horribly misshapen rotis, which is all I can make, or rice.
So how often do you cook this? Like now that you're
about once a week.
Oh wow, that's and you have
About
all the
once a week.
ingredients are easily available and
Yeah, because it's ginger, green chilies, like cumin,
potatoes and tomatoes.
things. Yeah, it's things that you would find in pretty much every single, like,
Kitchen.
generally well-equipped Indian kitchen.
Yeah.
It's not something that's overly complicated to make either. You don't need to have super specialized skills. This isn't French cooking at all. And it comes together in about, I would say, half an hour. And it's a great meal. It's something that, always reminds me of home. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's surprising though, because it's so simple that sometimes it's hard to believe it's that simple, but it really just is. And every recipe that you'll find online for it, whether it's like someone like Talla Dalal telling you how to make it or someone else, it's just the simplicity of it that blows you away every time. Um, it has like the same sort of like visceral reaction that one would have when you have like an aloo posto, for example, which is also one of my favorite.
So tell me something. This batata nushak. Is it a gravy aloo thing or is it dry?
Yeah.
It's
So you can make it dry, because it's just a matter of reduction. Like the longer that you sort of heat it, the longer that it sort of like just breaks down and the potatoes thicken up and they become more lucky. But yeah, it depends on you. Like the way I grew up eating it was as a gravy, and that's still the way that I prefer it.
Tell me something. So you already mentioned aloo posto, but were there any other such aloo dishes that you thought of when you had to pick a favorite?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was Punjabi aloo dum. Obviously, there was like Tamilian like podi mas, which is this spicy potato thing that's sort of like the masala that you find in masala dosa,
Okay.
but is not quite like it's not as sludgy.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so the Anglo-Indian diet, interestingly, Anglo-Indian cuisine is a mixture, I think, of elements of the British cuisine and Indian cuisine. Because what essentially happened, the Anglo-Indians are basically the descendants of the Europeans who came to rule in India, and basically a lot of them decided to just marry and settle, just marry and with Indian women. So that's where the community comes from. So what these Indian women would do is they would take, your roasts and your meats and all of the things that their husbands enjoyed and just make it the way they knew how to make it, which was gravy. So the Anglo cuisine has a lot of alus. We also eat aloo bhatta, but we eat it with
Yeah, that's your dish that you pick.
my dish is aloo bhatta or aloo makha. So yeah, so we eat aloo bhatta with like sausage, like sausage curry. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's a very popular in Calcutta thing. And dal and rice. Or we cut roast potatoes and we make and the leftover roast meat, and that goes into jhal fries. So yeah, alus are pretty big on the Anglo field.
So you said that the dish that you're going to talk about is aloo bharta. Can you describe what aloo bharta actually is, or do you want to show us what it is?
I will do both. So aloo bharta is aloo is potatoes. Bharta or makha is basically like I would say mashed, but to call it mashed potatoes is sort of insulting. First, we have potatoes, which I have boiled. That's pressure cooked actually. Aloo bhatta is really simple. It takes no time at all. It takes barely any ingredient. I mean, it's all ingredients that you would have in your
Homes, yeah.
It's ridiculously easy. I think even if you don't have any sort of great cooking knowledge, you can still make this because
Yeah. Because it's just like mashing. Yeah.
So, potatoes, which we boiled or pressure cooked. Step is onions.
Okay.
So this is interestingly when Pakistani anti-watch calls it omelette cut. So yeah, omelette cut.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Topping skills have become pretty decent. So you just chuck all that in. And green chilies chopped.
Lots of green chilies, yeah.
Lots of green chilies. Very bomb thing.
Yeah, I know.
Salt.
Yes.
Lots of it. As much as you need. And mustard oil.
Mustard oil, always.
And then you just basically, I would do this with my fingers, but
Yeah, you're trying to be civilized and dignified over here.
if you just sort of mash it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another cool trick that I learned, so I learned this in the PG. We had this Assamese roommate, and she basically taught us this version which is called pitika.
Called what?
Pitika, Pitika.
Pitika, okay.
Basically aloo bharta, but what you do is you add some onions.
Nice.
So, boil eggs, when. And I sort of I've adopted this recipe because it's just,
Tastes better.
it tastes much better and it's just healthier. And normally now, if I had ghee, I would add it to this. I have ghee, but it's not the right kind of ghee, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I won't mash this now. It's kind of boring. But you get the idea. It turns out a little bit like this, and then you just mash it and mix it till you get the consistency. Pretty simple. Now
Nice.
there's a fancy version. So this is what we eat like on a regular basis, and you just eat this with us. And then the fancy version is this one. So what I did was I took the onions.
Yeah.
Instead of green chilies, we've got red chilies, and you just fry it in a bunch of mustard oil.
Nice. And then you mix that with the aloo bharta.
Yeah. Like
So tell me, what are your other favorite aloo dishes?
Oh, so there was a lot of competition for this spot. One of the things that was in the top, I think 3, was aloo bhaja, which is just fried potato.
Fried aloo, yeah.
But you have to put holud in it, which is healthy.
Yeah.
Then there was biryani aloo, which is
Yes. That's also a very Calcutta thing. Like we just
It is
love
I
biryani.
was horrified. I think the first time I was in Lucknow, and everyone was like, "Oh, you must try the biryani." So okay, we ordered the biryani, and I dug through the entire thing looking for an aloo, and there wasn't one. I was quite disappointed.
Yeah. The story goes that we got the aloo because when the Nawab of Oudh came to Calcutta with his cook and chef and all, they had to cook for like a lot of people, but they didn't have money, so they just started like using aloo instead.
And eggs, I think, also just to
Yeah, yeah, which is like Calcutta biryani has aloo and a boiled egg and mutton and.
fun stuff.
So tell me, why you mentioned aloo bhaja and biryani aloo, but why did the aloo bharta win eventually? Like, what was the tipping point?
Tipping point. I think because I just have so many memories associated with it.
Like,
Okay, I will start with. I mean, at home, right? This is something that we just usually. I mean, it was just on the side of just
yeah,
of it. So aloo bhatta was a very big part of my growing up. And then when we moved to the PG again, my PG, I had the same experience as yours, where we would just take aloo or get and buy eggs, or if it was egg curry night, we just tell them to leave our eggs on the side. And there were always onions, so we would just make aloo bhatta, and that's where I learned to make pitika as well. Then when I moved to London, I was quite depressed. So, and I would say this is like the best depression meal because it's super easy to make.
yeah,
It doesn't take that much time. Ingredients that you already have on hand, you don't need to go out and buy anything, and it makes you feel really good.
yeah, like cure for homesickness.
So I ended up eating a lot of aloo bhatta because I was depressed and it helped. And yeah, now it's just a big part of my life.
What about potato? How much did it feature in your diet? Because like when I was growing up in Calcutta and I'm Bengali, so we eat potato in everything. We just like find a way to put potato in our food. But what was it like in your family or like?
I think that the first, okay, so I have a very unhealthy relationship with French fries, which is that if you place, and this is really true, if you place a French fry ka box, McDonald's especially, if you place that thing in front of me, I will ignore whoever is around till that thing is finished. I've had times on dates where I can't, like, I've struggled to concentrate on the conversation just because I want, like, the last 5 fries. Plus, like, the only acceptable vegetable that I would eat was batatachi bhaji. So we have batatachi bhaji, which are big potatoes, and then we have something called kachara batatachi bhaji, which are like fried slices of potatoes. And there are times when I would get my mom to make both at the same time. So yeah, dude, I would eat that shit a lot. I love potatoes.
Yeah, same. So, but if you had to pick one potato dish to talk about, like which would be your favorite, which one would it be?
Top of head, okay, several, but top of head, if I had to die eating one potato dish, mashed potatoes, clean, pure, simple. I mean, like the version of the dish I really like is something called potato puree. So potato puree is like a very bougie French dish that was made by this chef called Joël Robuchon, and like he made it really famous. And it's basically like just really, really sieve mashed, like creamy potatoes which have more butter than you. So it's basically like you like figure out the saturation point till which the potatoes can handle butter inside them. And when they touch that saturation point, then you serve it to people. And if they don't like it after that, then you throw them out of the restaurant.
And how often do you make this dish, and how often do you eat it?
I'll make mashed potatoes tons of times, but I will make this particular version of potatoes at least once a month. And that is like, I don't need friends. I don't need people only.
And is it something you eat like by itself, or you use it as a side? Because I can eat mashed potatoes like as a meal.
Nah, I can eat People serve mashed potatoes with a meat, right? Like you usually serve them with like chicken breast or something like that.
Yeah.
I will. It's one of the only few side condiments that like I will own and just throw away whatever main dish comes along with it.
Yeah.
Potatoes are life.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm this passionate about anything else. I wish I was.
Do you have like a specific memory or something of this potato puree, either eating it or cooking it, that sort of stays with you? Or do you remember the first time you made it?
Cooking it, yeah, for sure. Because so it's like a very hype, like it's a very famous dish in like the food world. And I feel like the first time I made it at home, like like the first time I got a poached egg, first time I made like good mutton curry, first time like I made a round chapati, like showed it to mom, like I got a stamp of approval. It's like one of those like markers on my calendar. Like I think I became a little older.
Amazing. What about like, you obviously mentioned French fries, but what were the other aloo dishes you sort of thought of before zeroing in on mashed potatoes?
I'll give you 5 top of my head. All right. So the potato that is there inside the biryani?
Yes.
That.
From Calcutta. Of course I know that potato.
Yeah. So like I don't know if there's a way for me to just get that potato, but that bite, right? Like first bite of that potato, like flavor and like if it's done well, your teeth just goes straight through it. It's like a pure potato bite. That's how I imagine. Like I had it at Arsalan for the first time.
Yeah.
And believe me, it's like one of the only times where like again like I've had like a potato dish inside something very meaty and very flavorful. And I love the rest of the biryani as well. My God, that potato was fucking crack cocaine, dude.
Yeah, so my absolute favorite aloo dish is, it's not even a dish, it's the aloo in the mutton, because it just tastes so good. Yeah, that's my like number one way to eat an aloo. And strangely, like we never used to cook mutton, like just my sister and myself, because we used to think we won't be able to, because in our house, like the mutton that my nanny makes and my mom makes and everybody in my house makes, it's just so good that we don't want to ruin it. And we barely used to cook mutton. Like every time my mom would come, or we would go, we'd eat mutton.
Yeah.
But it's not something that my sister and I cooked. But man, like I would be very happy if you take out, I mean, not very happy, but if you take out the mutton and just give me the
Aloo
gravy and aloo. We used to fight for it as kids. Like, every time we'd go to my nanny's house, it used to sit on we're a big family on my mother's side. So summers we used to go and we used to sit on the floor and eat. And we used to eat in those pattas. Yeah. And that had a flavor. Like that patta, eating in that patta had a flavor. And also eco-friendly. But yeah. So like if I remember when the pressure cooker would go around with like mutton and aloo, and I'd keep looking at everybody else's plate, and we'd all fight for that giant piece of aloo. So yeah, that is hands down my most favorite thing, my most favorite form of aloo. My mom used to make this very simple like bhaja, like it's sarson ka tel, sliced, like long sliced onions and potatoes cut like fries, namak, haldi, dal mirch. That is it, okay? And we used to have that with parathas, and like even today, even now, when you don't feel like cooking something, like if you're lazy, we still go to that. And like paratha with aloo bhaja is like such comfort food for me. Oh.
So because you said that you grew up in like your family was in the army, what about like cuisines of different parts of the country? Like, did you eat, like, what were the kind of cuisines that you like? What did you eat? What do you remember eating?
There's this there are these two dishes from Delhi that I even now when I go back, I haven't been to these places in a long time. But in Sarojini Nagar market, I mean, I have to make this aloo chaat. I can taste like like it's so like that full of nimbu and chaat masala and like extremely tangy, and it used to look black and it used to be really tangy and really spicy. And there is this another chaat person in this West Delhi market, Rajouri Garden, called Atul Chaat. Oh my god, that aloo tikki. And I think that chaat, that Atul Chaat, that shop is just, I mean, it has such a nice vibe. People would just come, just eat chaat, like come in a rickshaw, get off, eat chaat, get on a rickshaw, go back.
Sanat is a restaurateur and he owns and runs one of our favorite restaurants in Bombay, Sinful. And Sanat is here to talk about the role that aloo plays in Sindhi food. So thank you for joining me, Sanat, and for taking the time out. And so yeah, if you could just like tell me a little bit about the use of aloo in Sindhi cuisine and like how much of a part of your diet aloo was, especially when you were growing up.
Right. Awesome. Firstly, thank you so much for having me, Shima. It's such an unusual topic here because we've done so many interviews about food and it's never been specifically on this particularly. But so I start off with talking about how potato was used for us for Sindhis was because we came from Shikarpur, we're Shikarpuri Sindhis. One of the cities. It was mostly about whatever is available at that time. That these are stories from my grandparents and my mom. That now most of the vegetables are not seasonal. You get them like throughout the year possible.
Right. Yeah.
At that time you had a lot of dishes which the entire village was cooking the same thing because only palak was available. Only particular veggies were available. So potatoes were fairly easier to grow, and it was very easily available. So I think that was one of the reasons we used a lot of potatoes in most of our cooking. And another funny story is that that's what my again grandparents said, that time the families were huge. So you have just like 2-3 children and all. They had like 10 to 15 children. The issue was when someone is a picky eater, you always know potato is the thing to go with them. So they used to always add a potato dish that if someone doesn't like what's being cooked today, they can go for the potato dish.
Potato dish, yeah.
So I think that's how it came about. But as I was discussing with you earlier also, potatoes is used in everything in Sindhi cuisine. Like as you know, your favorite Sindhi curry rice is aloo too. And then we use it with sai bhaji. I don't know if you've had that. It's a palak ka sabji with onion pulao. We add masala aloo to it. Our dal chawal also regularly, which we eat, like there has to be like a bhindi aloo, or there has to be a fried aloo, or there has to be some potato involved in it. So like you don't really think about it so much, but it's actually so much a part of our cuisine also, as well as you're saying. It's really potatoes are like involved in like not only vegetarian dishes. Like even if you look at your keema patties, which we do the non-veg one, we even like our Sindhi chicken or the mutton, we add potatoes. Even in the Sindhi curry, so like aloo tikki, like I can just keep going on this.
Yeah, it's the same for us. Like we also have aloo in our mutton and chicken, and we can't like live without it really. So I have to talk about the aloo tok.
So aloo tok again, like again, I'm saying like we've done so many interviews about food and about regional cuisine. This question has never come up. How did the aloo tok originate?
Yeah.
So we have a fun story in the family. It's a fun story because it's so simple that you really don't know how true it is. So the story goes like this, that during a Sunday or any other day when they were cooking curry in the house, and they used to eat potatoes, fried potatoes in the house, like So they were kept in a pan, and along with it, they were covered with a pan that they are going to refry it, because generally potatoes are refried. We fried once and then we fried again, because Sindhis also we love everything crispy. So that's how it is. So it was kept in a pan, and one of the moms or grandmoms were picking up the curry, and they picked it up and it was too hot, and they put it on the aloo tok by mistake. So the potatoes were between the pans, and the curry went up and it got crushed. And being Sindhis, we didn't waste it, right? So we had to use it. So we refried it, and it became crispier. So that's like one of the stories how aloo tok.
Tell me something. What are the other potato-based dishes that you like eating? It doesn't have to be Sindhi cuisine. It can just be.
But aloo tok has to be number one, right? Because for us, it's like every Sunday, come what may, breakfast had to be dal pakwan, but that kind of faded off after a point because dal pakwan gets a little heavy for breakfast every Sunday. But Sindhi curry, rice, and aloo tok has to be a part of a meal. So I don't know, it's just that I've had it since so long. I never get bored of potatoes. And aloo tok is something like, is just so freaking amazing, man. You really can't stop eating it. And
I know.
when you're sitting on the table and having those fresh aloo toks coming in, like you never literally have a count. And for my wife also, she's a Marwadi, and she's a physical she's an instructor. She's very health conscious, and she doesn't even. So we've switched to air fried aloo tok because of her. Not as much fun, but yeah, they still do. And she also is the same thing. Like for someone being so particular about something, she can't counter toks on a Sunday. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's so addictive. So yeah, aloo tok number one. Number two is potato chips, because I can't see my life without that. Like I am crazy about potato chips, like the plain ones, masala. The jali chips are like my favorite from Cambio. And that's like that was again a substitute for us on a Sunday. So Sunday, mom was like too tired to make aloo tok. We used to crush wafers in a Sindhi curry and we used to have it with that.
Nice.
Certainly. So actually, when you're frying potatoes, you should always parboil them and fry them. Parboiling is basically half boiling them.
Yeah.
Because if you look at just a simple dish like French fries, if we take that, if you just fry them directly, they won't be as crispy, So we always in a potato, when we're frying a potato, what we look for is it's crispy on the outside and on the inside. So what you do is you parboil the potato without even removing the skin, without cutting it into fingers. You just half boil it, remove it, then you cool it down, remove the skin, cut it into fries. When you're boiling it, please do add a little bit of salt, because that gives a little bit of flavor to that. And once you basically are done with that, parboiling it, then you fry it, you'll always have a crispier fries, and it will be again soft in the center and crispy on the outside. And if you're looking to boil it, or you love mashed potatoes, same process is boil them completely with the skin on. But the trick here is once it's hot, you remove the skin that time and you mash it immediately when it's hot with like any heavy dish or any kind of spatula, and then you add whatever you need. Like you add the cheese to it, or you add hot milk to it, or you add thyme, whatever herbs you need, and you mix it that time. So it gives it that nice consistency when it's hot.
Cooked aloo, like you boil it and then you sort of fry it a little
Yeah.
bit, then like put it in a gravy or whatever. It's too good. It's too good. I think aloo cooked twice is
The
it's
best.
so much better. Yeah.
Yes, if you are frying potatoes or like cooking potatoes in any way, not just frying, boiling, whatever it is, make sure you cut them into similar sizes.
Yeah.
It is imperative that you do not have one piece that's the size of a baby's head and one piece that's the size of a toenail. Simply because it's not going to cook evenly, and you're going to have food that's undercooked in some places and that's overcooked in others. And it's imperative that you make sure that it's evenly cooked. So chop it really like equal sizes.
Fry that shit. That's what I say.